If you're one of the many people who are confused about when you should trace your angles or if tracing angles is even necessary, then this is the video for you. In case you're new here, I'm Zasko3, Valorant's mechanical coach, and my goal is to simply help you frag harder in your Valorant games by helping you to take more favorable fights, hit more consistent shots, and to learn how to outplay your opponents with nothing more than just a bit of gunfight IQ. Tracing. Tracing is a topic that many people get confused about. What's the difference between tracing angles while walking and tracing angles while running? Where should I put my crosshair while I am tracing an angle? Why do I see PreAim crouch while tracing some of his angles? And why can't I just pre-aim every single angle? Don't worry, if you can make it through today's video, all will be revealed. So, how do we properly implement tracing into our gunfighting? First of all, we need to understand three main concepts. When should we actually trace the angle? What are the different ways in which we can trace an angle? And in what situation should we use these different ways of tracing an angle? Let's start with when to trace. In Valorant, there are times where we are fighting or prepared for a fight. There are also times where we know we are completely safe. When we're completely safe, you can have your knife out looking at the minimap for all I care. We don't need to be wasting any brain power on tracing angles and having perfect crosshair placement. But of course, the majority of the time that's not the case, so most of the time there will be some kind of threat. Someone could swing you from heaven, someone could dry peek you out of the smoke. Whatever it is, it's in these times where I need you to be in quote-unquote shooter mode. You've just got to be ready for anything that can be thrown your way so that if it does happen, the gunfights that follow are very favorable. When in shooter mode, you're either intentionally peeking an angle, you're holding an angle, you're tracing an angle, or you are tucking behind cover to quote-unquote disengage so that you can check the minimap and be quote-unquote safe again. This means that when you're in shooter mode, there is absolutely no reason for you not to be doing one of these things. Simply put, we trace angles when we aren't peeking or holding, but we are in a situation where we are prepared to be in a fight. This means that we trace our angles when we aren't peeking, we aren't holding, but we are still in a situation where we need to be prepared for some kind of fight. It's the glue that binds together your peaks. If you peek one angle and you can't immediately peek the next one and you have to walk out a little bit further, then boom, that is a situation where you're going to need to trace. However, when to trace and when to pre-aim can be simplified down to if you have angle disadvantage, that's when you pre-aim, and if you have angle advantage, that's when you trace. Angle advantage or disadvantage is determined by who is closer to the angle that is being peeked. Basically, whoever has more advantage simply sees the enemy first, and this means that if you were to trace an angle with angle disadvantage, you would literally be giving yourself a disadvantage because the enemy is going to see you well and truly before you see them. That's why we slice and pre-aim angles. We're basically jumping out at the enemy at full speed to counteract the disadvantage that we've got from being so close to the angle. We can flip this idea in reverse now and understand why it's disadvantageous to pre-aim angles when you have the advantage. If you're going to see the enemy first, even if you were literally holding down crouch and sliding out as slow as possible, then why do we need to peek in a way that counters angle disadvantage? Why do we need to appear really quickly? We don't. And it means that if you do pre-aim an angle when you have disadvantage, you're simply putting your crosshair into the wall and leaving yourself vulnerable for no reason. You're missing out on having your crosshair ready for the opponent when they swing because you're busy pre-aiming these angles for no reason. There's no point. Simply put, when we're further away from the wall than the enemy is, we trace the angle. When we are closer to the wall, we pre-aim. Now, all of this is very surface level and pretty common knowledge. However, if you find your gunfights are still going poorly even though you're following these rules, it's probably because we don't understand how speed impacts our angle tracing. There are two ways in which we control how fast our crosshair is moving on the screen. The first is the distance from the wall. The second is whether we are crouching, walking, or running. If we were to trace an angle from up close, our crosshair would move a lot faster than if we were to trace the same angle from much further back. If we were to hold down shift, however, it would slow us down further, and then even more so if we were to hold down crouch. Why is controlling the speed important? Reaction time. It is very possible to trace an angle too fast and to have it move too much distance before your reaction time realizes that there's actually a target on your screen. You can be perfectly tracing the corner that you know someone could be behind, but Again, if you're going too fast, by the time you're able to realize they're on your screen, you've left yourself with too large of a flick instead of just a simple micro adjustment. How do we avoid this? By controlling the speed. Option 1, we know we can just move further away, and option 2, we know we can slow ourselves by walking or crouching. Either way, if we slow ourselves down, once the enemy does appear on our screen, we're able to just micro adjust, click on the head, and we don't need to go for some heroic flick across our screen. It's important to know though that the first lesson I taught you in this video still stands very strong. If you hold shift and peek an angle with angle disadvantage, you are an extremely easy target for the enemy to hit. They'll see you first, and this is just shift peeking, right? And we know we shouldn't shift peek. If you have angle advantage though, we're completely safe and the odds are in our favor when we take the fight. Again, just be careful not to shift peek. This is like code red. Don't shift peek. If you're close to the wall, go for that nice clean peek. Now the final piece of the puzzle is where should my crosshair be while I am tracing, and hopefully I can articulate this well. But basically speed plays a huge part of this. I want you to imagine a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being holding an angle and 10 being pre-aiming an angle. When we pre-aim an angle, our crosshair is literally inside of the wall. When we're standing still, holding an angle, our crosshair is much further out. Basically, both of these states, angle holding and pre-aiming, are on the same spectrum. And just like how I said at the start of the video, tracing is the glue that combines these two states. Meaning, if you were to trace an angle, you are on the spectrum. How do we determine where on the spectrum we are? Speed. Before we continue, I've come from the future to let you guys know that Gosu Academy has once again sponsored today's video. As much as I'm a mechanical coach, okay, I can respect that game sense is almost more important than your mechanics. And if you do as I say in this video and focus on your game sense while playing comp, well, you're gonna need some things to focus on. And these guys have all the resources that you will ever need. We're talking theory sessions crafted by franchise team coaches. On top of that, they even host ranked based 10-man custom games that are overlooked by coaches. Like, it's crazy. A couple weeks ago, they even got me to do a mechanical workshop for them. So you know quality is at the forefront of their mind. The best part though, 30 days of free coaching. Everything I've discussed free for the first 30 days. If you guys want this, check out the link in the description. That's all. Thank you Gosu Academy for sponsoring the video. I love you guys. Take care. If speed is lower, then we hold our crosshair further out because the slower we are, the closer we are to the state that is angle holding. If speed is higher, then we hold our crosshair closer because the faster we are moving, the closer we are to the state that is peaking. This is much more useful when we have less angle advantage, and just like when we're peaking with full angle disadvantage, we're in a situation where we're kind of blending a trace and a pre-aim together. If we were really far away from an angle like long on Pearl's B site, then you can see how silly it would feel to trace an angle with your crosshair close to the wall because you're basically holding the angle at this point. We know when we're holding an angle, we need to take into account our reaction times. So of course, we hold our crosshair a little bit further out. Now there's more nuance and more complications to this. Like for example, if you do anticipate someone swinging into you, maybe you do approach it differently, but I'm not going to go over that because it just overcomplicate things. And simply put, if you think someone's going to swing into you, then you hold for that person that's swinging into you. You don't try and trace into them because you're making the fight harder for no reason. Sun Tzu said, do nothing and win, and I stand by that. If you know the enemy is swinging into you, don't worry about whether your crosshair should be this, trace this, and think about all this stuff. Just stand still and hold the angle and you'll get the kill. Simple as that. That's all you need to know. Let's break down a clip of Primi showcasing how all of what I've mentioned works wonderfully. I'll start off by playing out the clip so you guys can watch it and then we'll break it down together. But this is beautiful. It's my favorite clip of all time. Beautiful, beautiful, right? So let's break it down, right? If we go back to the very beginning, right, we can see his use of the different states, and this is crucial. This is very, very important. The first thing we see is he moves his crosshair into the wall and goes for a peek, right? So this is like a 10 on the spectrum, right? He's literally just simply peeking, right? But the second he peeks and sees nothing, he now completely flips the script and he is in a 1 state. He's angle holding, he's holding, right? So we can see that he traces the tiniest bit so they can hold the angle, and then the cipher peaks and he's able to get an easy kill because his crosshair is just sitting there patiently waiting. He now sees someone close, right? And he realizes, okay, I'm not in a position to shoot this person because they're behind the wall. So what does he do? He transitions back to a state of angle holding, and you can see his crosshair is positioned right here for the sky to swing. As he moves back, he's just holding that angle, right? And his crosshair is out because he knows that the person is going to swing into him. Holding still, he goes for the angle hold shot, he misses, he's still holding wide, he's literally just letting the enemy come to him. Jet swings, he misses the shot, and Jet tashes back. He was about to aggress for a second, but he's like, no, the sky is going to swing into me. So he's now holding again for the sky. Because he's in the state of angle holding, he gets the kill, but now he wants to aggress, right? And in this situation, PreAim doesn't want to go for slices and pre-aims, so he goes for a trace, but his trace, as you can see, his crosshair is right on the wall, he's full sprint, and he's pretty close to the wall, which means that he is very far on the spectrum to the 10 side. He's like on a 7, he's like an 8. And that's why when we watch it back, right, it's a trace, but it's also kind of a peak, right, at the same time. It's, you know, really far on that side of the spectrum. Because of this, he ends up getting the kill, and now he goes for another very aggressive trace. He ends up getting the kill again. And then on this last one, he wants to go for another aggressive trace. And you can see his crosshair is literally in the wall, right? And that's because he's, you know, really moving fast. He's basically peaking, but he's tracing at the same time. So yeah, basically PreAim goes for very aggressive traces where his crosshair is borderline in the wall and he's got very little angle advantage, right? He's not taking his fights from further back, and he's not like taking it very slowly in this fight. He's really aggressive, and that's why his crosshair is placed very aggressively. So I've gone hunting for some more examples. In this one, we can see he's walking down long, and you can see he's not slicing his angles one by one because he has mega angle advantage, right? He knows that he's going to see the enemies first, and he does. He sees their shoulders well and truly before they do. And yeah, he's got plenty of advantage in this fight. As he continues, right now he's still tracing, and we can see that he's holding shift here, so the pace is a little slower. Bang. In this fight, he has angle advantage, right? So against the neon, this is the wall, and this is the wall here, right? He really doesn't believe anyone's here, right? Because realistically, if he did believe someone was here, he should be slicing these angles, right? But he can hear people grass, and that's why he's not concerned about them. However, yeah, realistically, if he did believe someone was here, then he should have sliced them. But look at this angle here, right? He's much further away from this angle than the neon, so he's just tracing, and the neon doesn't even get time to react. He just shoots. Same thing on the next fight. I don't know who it's against, but he's way further away from this wall than the Sova is. I believe it's Sova. Yeah, and he literally sees their shoulder. He shoots their shoulder first. We see their shoulder before they even see us, and he just goes for the shot, right? He could have killed the Sova there, and, you know, happy days, but yeah, unlucky, he doesn't, right? He just ends up, I think, killing, I don't know. No, he does, but all good, right? You get the idea. That's why if we were to have pre-aimed in that situation, it would have been a waste of crosshair being in the wall for no reason. There's no reason to pre-aim that. We just trace that. While we're at it, we might as well point out as well that he conditions the enemy's crosshairs as well, something that I discuss in my movement guide, right? He gets spotted from further back, so he gets close to the wall and then goes wide. That's because the enemy saw it. I've explained that in the movement guide, so check out that as well. But take a look, right? He pre-aims his angles here, right? He pre-aims this, and then when he wide swings, his cross is in the wall and he pre-aims. However, the second he's out and there's no more cover, like the new piece of cover is this piece here, he's now transitioned to tracing. He's now tracing this angle, and he's now holding, and you get the idea, right? He transitions from state to state, but he's never got lazy, pointless crosshair placement. It's always meaningful. It's always either a peak, either a hold, or it's somewhere in the middle with a trace. I hope that I've been able to teach you something. This video was made through my own investigations, and I put a lot of love and passion into analyzing mechanics because that's my job, the mechanical coach. So if you want original ideas, concepts, breaking down videos of professionals like we've done today, all that stuff is only found here. All right, no generic BS that you've heard a million times. I keep it fresh, I keep it original, and I make sure that I only give you guys things that I truly believe in. Don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss out on whatever new concepts I put out there, because there are real results from this. Like, it's undeniable that people are getting real results from implementing this stuff into their gameplay, and I don't want you to miss out on that, you know what I mean? And I also don't want to miss out on the subscription because it's my job, but you get the idea, right? Last thing as well, coaching sessions. I do one-on-one coaching sessions. So if you want this kind of depth specifically catered to you, I can do that, and link in the description. We can have some fun, get you real good at fragging in no time. So all the best. Peace out, everybody. Love you all.